friends and colleagues. As we are aware of what has been happening these days, we have taken steps. You must have been aware that we wrote to traditional rulers and other elders of the North, and we just wrote another representation to the National Assembly. We have served the office of the Senate President and other senators. We have an endorsed copy of this proof of service on the Senate President, and we now have a brief on what is contained in the letter we sent to the National Assembly, essentially. So we read: call for suspension of constitutional review and for referendum on self-determination to the violent agitations for Biafra. The coalition of northern groups has taken stock of events unfolding in Nigeria since 2016, noting especially with utter perplexity and concern the unrelenting disturbances created by certain interest groups in the southeast in the form of the violent agitation for a separate state of Biafra, which in the form of the agitation for a separate state of Biafra, which turned violent. The embers of this agitation were ignited and incessantly fanned into a raging fire by the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and other authors of mindless violence and separatism, who see it as their duty to actualize what their fathers started in 1966, namely to bring about the realization of a separate state of Biafra through the force of arms and terrorist tactics. As the representatives of various interest groups from northern Nigeria, the CNG has watched and studied these events carefully and with considerable restraint and maturity, to the point of condoning and accommodating several unreasonable and unacceptable actions that have been perpetrated against Nigerians collectively and northerners in particular. Of late, however, matters have reached a point whereby silence has become complicity and inaction is no longer an option. Unprovoked evictions, attacks and killings of northerners in various parts of the South have resulted from the hate campaigns and propaganda being conducted by regional and ethnic agitators aimed mainly at instigating reprisals by northerners against people from other parts of the country. Aware that the perpetrators of violence relentlessly pursuing this agenda of destruction and collective mayhem fervently hope it will engulf the entire country and bring about another civil war and mass killings and suffering of innocent people, the CNG took another bold step last week to address a petition to every significant component of the northern society. Similar representations were made to the leadership of the National Assembly and delivered yesterday, Wednesday, June 9, 2021, in which the CNG made the following key demands from the Federal Parliament. 1. We demanded the immediate suspension of the ongoing exercise for the review of the 1999 Constitution and to concentrate on the first priority of determining who and what actually constitutes Nigeria as a nation in the present circumstance in which the Igbo, by taking up arms against the Nigerian state for the third time, have foreclosed every hope for the rest of us to continue coexisting with them as one nation. 2. In order to achieve the final separation of the Igbo from the rest of Nigeria, we demanded the National Assembly to organize a referendum by seeking the cover of the same doctrine of necessity invoked by Nigeria's federal parliament that paved way for former President Goodluck Jonathan's takeover by declaring the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua unfit. Number 3, we demanded the National Assembly to prevail on the federal government of Nigeria to invite the United Nations as well as the African Union and ECOWAS to initiate the process of self-determination to mandate the Biafrans out of the Nigerian Union by leveraging on the several relevant international treaties and conventions to which Nigeria is a signatory. Grounds. CNG notes that having failed to achieve the Igbo's nefarious objective by hijacking the NSAS agitations and inciting the violence and destruction that followed in its wake, long-practiced tactics are now being played out in the form of attacks against Northerners and against agents and symbols of the federal government of Nigeria in the southeast and parts of the south-south. The mindless violence and extremist terrorist actions perpetrated by IPOB and its followers in the southeast and the south-south have therefore made it impossible for us to remain indifferent or silent in the face of such extreme provocations and insistent drive towards civil strife in the country. Today, everyone can see that the diabolical scheme planned and exhibited in the actions and claims of IPOB, supported morally and politically by the vast majority of the pliant and affrighted Igbo elites, politicians, traditional rulers, business persons, and the larger population of this ethnic group has pushed Nigeria to the precipice. We are convinced that this renewed violent determination of the Igbo to see through the secession of the Southeast from Nigeria is now real and cannot be avoided or deferred any longer without terrible consequences. In order to avoid such mishaps and unnecessary devastation on all sides, particularly the Southeast, whose leaders and agitators are now bent on driving it over the brink into catastrophe, CNG is of the view that resort to available means of actualizing the separation of the Southeast from the rest of Nigeria is today a vital task that must be undertaken by all. Conclusion. In order to prevent a descent into another civil war at this day and age, and to forestall mass killings, untold sufferance, and atrocities, the CNG has committed to the call for a referendum that will finally separate the Southeast from Nigeria. In this connection, we are hoping that the National Assembly will come up with a framework to be agreed upon in the course of the referendum and its final implementation in the Southeast or any enclave that wishes to secede from Nigeria. All identified indigents, that is Igbos of the enclave or entity that called for secession, that is the Southeast, must leave the territory of Nigeria and assemble in their designated enclave for the purpose of the exercise. The outcome of the referendum shall be final, irreversible, and shall not be reviewed or reconsidered for any other reasons. Citizens of the breakaway enclave shall be deprived of any automatic rights to return to the territory of the rump Nigeria or to be admitted to live in any of its parts. We are aware that all this while, the North continued to bear the brunt of the violent agitations for secession with equanimity, stoical calm, and resignation. In spite of this studied and dignified reserve of the North and refusal by its people to engage in altercations with these self-appointed enemies of Nigeria and antagonists of the North, no stone is being left unturned by these people to see that the North is goaded into reacting. Therefore, as the CNG recommits to the pursuit of a final constitutional separation with Biafra, we urge the North to remain the bulwark of respect, integrity, dignity, decorum, tradition, decency, morality, civilization, etiquette, good behavior, politeness, accommodation, and all other positive traits with the assurance that the good will ultimately prevail over evil. That's all.
Thank you.
You can see it's a short.